Ki ngā atua e whakairi ake ki runga e takoto ana ki aro. Tēnei te mihi ki te papa o te aro pā e takoto nei me ona haukainga tēnei te mihi ki a koutou katoa. Tēnei te mihi ki te whare kaunihira me te ngākau Civic Square e tū nei. Tēnei te mihi, tēnei te mihi. Ki te unga ora, ko ngā iwi o Pōneke, ko ngā arangatira, ko ngā manuhiri o ngā haue whā, ko ngā tangata e hui mai I te mana o te raukura e tēnei rā e ngā mana e ngā reo nau mai, hare mai, tangi mai, whiu hupe mai, nau mai, ara mai. Ki te hunga mate, tēnei te mihi, tēnei te mihi. Aue ngā mate o Palestine, aue rā. Ko ngā tangata, ko ngā tamariki, ko ngā ika o tūmatauinga, aue. Rātau ki a rātau, tātau ki a tātau. Te hunga ora, ki te hunga ora, te hunga mate, ki te hunga mate, apiti ono tātai hono. Mō rātau, te tai o te ata, mō tātou katoa, te tai o te pō. Nā reira, moi mai rā. Nā reira, tēnā te mihi ki a koutou katoa, tēnā koutou, kia ora mai tātou katoa, me tīmea takarakia tātou. Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga, kia mā kina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai, e hi aki ana te ātākura, he tio, he huka, he hauhunga, ati hei mauri ora. Tēnā koutou katoa. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for gathering in this space today. Under the raukura of Taranaki, we remember peace, we remember sacrifice, but most of all we grieve. And we show our solidarity from across the oceans, from across Te Moana Nui Ākiwa to a faraway land, to a place to which many of us have never been, but to a place which to many of us, and particularly tangata whenua and any people on this land who have ever felt the keen sting of colonization and cruelty and brutality, we feel so much aroha and we feel so much kinship. Ko tainui te waka, ko whitirea te maunga, ko raukawakawa te moana, ko te puahia raiwa, ko hongueka ngā marae, ko te rauparaha te tupuna ariki, ko Ngāti Torangatira, te iwi. Ko Nika Windera tēnei, and I am a City Councillor for Te Whanganui-a-Tara Māori Ward of the Wellington City Council, your Wellington City Council, who, in it, kia ora. Who this year, to show our solidarity, took the decision to become sister cities with the administrative centre of the state of Palestine, the city of Ramallah. At the iwi, I won't take up too much space here today from our wonderful tangata parataina who have come here to share their whakaaro with you and to share their lived experiences. But I just want to say thank you so much for coming out today, assembling in the heart of Te Whanganui-a-Tara, in the heart of Pōneke, in the heart of Wellington, in Civic Square, under the shadow of our beautiful town hall, and showing your solidarity and showing your desire for peace to triumph, and bringing all the aroha and your whānau with you today. So thank you very much. Nā reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.
Kia ora tātou. It's incredible to see how many of you are out here today. We're counting over 4,000 people showing up today. It's incredible. Now, before we get started, we have some kōrero to share. Myself and Nadia here will be your MCs for the day. So, my name is Cassie. I whakapapa back to Ngāti Raukawa, and my dear friend Nadia comes from Palestine, and together we will be guiding you through this day. Now, it's a very special thing to gather collectively. It is a special thing to make our way outside of our screens, outside of our homes, outside of our isolation, to be in togetherness with each other. So I commend you all for being here, because today is about being together. It's about being here together for Palestine. And I'm going to hand it over to Nadia. Kia ora, everyone. Okay,
Okay, I just want to shout out quickly to some of the groups that have come through, and I won't touch on you all, but can I hear it for all the Palestinians who are here? Come on, my Palestinian whānau, we're going to do that again. Can I hear from all the Palestinians that are here? I know you can be loud. Can I hear from all the students that have come through? Can we hear from all our Māori who have come through? Can I hear from all my Yemeni, Iraqi, Jordanian, all my Arab whānau? I knew you'd be loud. Okay. Can I hear from my people of faith in the crowd? Can I hear for everybody who is here? For justice for Palestine! So as you all know, a few weeks ago, at the onset of probably what has been for our Palestinian community here and across the world, because we have been scattered into Naho Fa. Palestinians exist in every corner of this world, and in every corner of this world we mobilize and we long for home. But this has been, and I think I can speak for us all when I say this, probably some of the worst 3 weeks of our collective life since 1948. When we gathered together at Waitangi Park a few weeks ago, we talked about needing to show the moral, political, historical leadership that our world leaders failed to do. And today, you have come through to do that. So I acknowledge you all. Thank you so much for coming. And I am going to hand over now to Samira Zaytoun. This event has been organised by Justice for Palestine, and she is the co-chair of Justice for Palestine. And she's going to share a little bit about what our purpose, our whole purpose is here today. So, kia ora Samira. Welcome, Samira.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Tēnā koutou katoa. He tangata tiriti ahau, no pare he tini me inga rangi oku tipuna. Ko Samira Zaytoun tōku ingoa. I am the co-convener of Justice for Palestine, and I stand before you unapologetically and proudly Palestinian. Justice for Palestine is a human rights organisation working in Aotearoa to promote justice, peace and freedom for the Palestinian people. Why we're here. A child in Gaza has been killed. A child in Gaza is being killed every 15 minutes. The death toll is close to 10,000. Parents are writing the names of their children on their children's arms in case they need to identify them. The fuel is running out, so the hospitals cannot operate. Doctors are performing surgeries without anesthesia and under phone light. Journalists and their families are being targeted and killed. Ambulances are being blown up. There is a complete blackout of power, of light, and of internet right now. But we need to be that light. This is not complicated. The options at the moment by the Israeli government to the Palestinian people are loud and clear. It is expulsion or extermination. It is ethnic cleansing or it is genocide. We cannot let that happen. Antonio Guterres, the UN Secretary General, said today, "This is our moment of truth, and history will be the judge of us all." So we're here because we want Palestine to know we stand with you, we see you, we hear you. We're here because we want the Palestinians in Aotearoa to know we're here, we stand with you, we see you. We're here because in the silence of the media, we are here. We will be the voices. We will carry their voices, their stories, and we will carry that to Parliament today. We're here because we want the New Zealand government to know we are here. We believe in justice. We believe in humanity. We believe in liberation, and we will fight for water, land, life. Today, when we march to Parliament, to the steps of Parliament, we will be handing over a petition with and led by our friend Fatih from Palestinian Youth Aotearoa. It calls on the government to demand a ceasefire immediately. In 5 days, there have been 17,000 people in Aotearoa signing it to say, no more, stop the genocide, Aotearoa will not be complicit. But that is not the end. Ceasefire is just the beginning. Because once that ceasefire happens, then what? Back to normal? I don't think so. Being here today and signing that petition is an important step, but do not let it be the only one that you take. Come on this journey with us. He waka eke noa. We need you, every single one of you, to rise up against racism, rise up against Zionism, against apartheid, against ethnic cleansing, against the occupation, against the blockade.
Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Gaza!
Free, free Gaza!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free! From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free! From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free!
Kia ora. So today and tomorrow and every day after that, stand up. Stand up for justice, stand up for international law, stand up for human rights, stand up for humanity, stand up for Palestinians, stand up for Palestine. E tu. Kia ora.
What we're going to do now is we're going to change this physical space a little bit together, because not only can we change this physical space together, but we can actually change the course of history too. But let's start with changing the physical space. So I'm going to walk you through this. What we're going to do is, as many of our Palestinian whānau, it doesn't matter at what point you were dispossessed and you made your way over here to Aotearoa, you are going to come up here. If you can make it up here, if you can't make it up here, you are going to come to the front. Yalla whānau. Yalla. Keep coming. I know there's more of you. It doesn't matter if you're at the back. We'll wait. To the limits that any community should ever be tested to. But we stand here proud of who we are. Proud of our people, proud of our ancestors, proud of the olive trees that still remember that our grandparents were the ones that planted them. Now let me tell you something, we might fall asleep if we even can, every night in tears over what is happening, but we are not afraid. We are not afraid. We know where this will go. The question is, how fast can we take it there? How fast can we take it to justice and liberation for the Palestinian people? Because at the end of the day, that process is going to be inevitable. But over to you on how quickly we can get there. Over to you, everyone else here. Now our next speaker, Tamim Shaltuni. I want to share something with you because Tamim and I, along with some of our Palestinian brothers and sisters, sat opposite senior government officials giving one of the most powerful briefings I have ever witnessed. And Tamim told the story that he is going to tell to you today. And it was quite something to watch him tell that story to officials and to be met with bureaucratic language and cold indifference about the urgency of the situation and the fact that the people of Gaza are running out of water. Okay? They are running out of food. But instead we were met with officials and bureaucratic language, and that is not the one. Okay, so I wanted to invite Tamim here because Matwa Moana Jackson, some of you will know, had a quote that I just love. And it's that we needn't worry always about speaking truth to power. We can tell power truth and it will still cut its ears off, turn our internet off, censor us, fire us, spy on us to make sure that truth is not heard. But Moana Jackson had an alternative, and he said, we speak the truth of our power. So I invite now Tamim to share the truth of our power with you, and I know that this is going to be a better audience than the one that we were met with when he told this story to government officials. So let's do a redo on this, shall we, Fano?
Thank you, Nadia. Kia ora, everyone. It is sad circumstances that you brought us here today. Well, I'm really glad to see so many people who understand what it means to be a human and understand why we need to care about what's going on in Palestine and Gaza. So thank you all for being here today. So as Nadia said, I'm here today in order to share with you a story, a very personal story. It is the story of Bagba, of my own family. While it is my own story, my own family, but it represents all of us. Almost each one of us here on the stage today, they have a similar story, more or less. So it is the story of Nakba of Palestinians. So my grandparents came from two places in Palestine, from Safad, north of occupied Palestine, and from Al-Lid in central Palestine, just 16 kilometers from Tel Aviv. And for the purpose of this story, I'm going to focus on Al-Lid, which is the hometown of my father's family. Back in 1948, Al-Lid was just another Palestinian town of 50,000 people, inhabitants of Al-Lid. My grandparents, they had 3 children at a time. The oldest was 8, the youngest was 3 or 4. And in July in 1948, Israel decided to capture Al-Lid. So what happened in one day in July, Al-Lid started getting bombarded from air, and immediately it was invaded by the troops, by the Israeli army. The Israeli army invaded Al-Lid. It was just a normal town, and they started killing, shooting everyone that they saw in the streets, shops, in the markets. A few people, they took a shelter in a mosque and in the middle of Al-Lid. They thought that they would be safe in a mosque, in a holy place, but not with Israel. They killed everyone who was inside the mosque on that day. 176 people were killed, massacred in that mosque. Then the army took control of the entire town, and they ordered a few men from Al-Lid to dig a trench in the town in order to bury the people who were just the bodies, piled up everywhere across the town. And that is how we know the exact number that they killed on that day in that city alone. 426 people were massacred in Al-Lid on one day. All of them, they were buried there. The following day, the troops went door to door in Al-Lid, and they rounded up every single human in Al-Lid, men, women, children, sick. Everyone was rounded up. No one was spared. They were gathered in the streets of Al-Lid, 50,000 people. And an order came into the army from their command saying, literally, the inhabitants of Al-Lid must be expelled quickly without attention to age. That's it, 10 words. That is what the command or the order said. And everyone was ordered, the 50,000 people of Al-Lid, they were all of them ordered to start walking out of town, heading east. It was July, in the height of the Middle East summer. 50,000 people, including my own grandparents and their 3 children, they started walking east. And in order to keep walking, the troops were shooting on top of the heads of the people, the column of people, just to hurry them up and continue walking. They also set up roadblocks, the army, the troops, the Israeli army. They set up roadblocks at the exits of the town, and they started stripping people out of everything that they carried with them. No food, no water. Women were stripped out of their rings, necklaces, watches, everything. That's just the clothes on their bodies. That's it. And they started walking. 350 people died in that walk alone of dehydration, heat, and thirst. They walked for 3 days with no food, no water in summer. That walk became known as Al-Lid Death March. Now, while this is the story of Al-Lid people, but similar stories happened for all of these people here, for their grandparents and for their parents. It's the story of all of us. This is what we call Nakba, or the Palestinian catastrophe. The destruction of the Palestinian society that started in 1948 and is still ongoing until today. That's why it's important to tell these stories and to remember them, because we Palestinians, when we see things happening now, we know what is it about, because we experienced it. Our parents told us about it. So my grandparents walked for these 3 days. They survived that horrible walk, the death march. They arrived in Ramallah. Then from Ramallah, they had to walk again to Gaza. As soon as they arrived to Gaza, my dad was born. That was in 1950. He was born in a refugee camp in a tent in Gaza. Back then, Gaza was full of refugee camps, packed with expelled Palestinians, just like my grandparents, who came from all the surrounding villages and towns close by Gaza. They were all concentrated in Gaza. So Gaza was, and still is, a concentration camp. Well, it's now worse, but it was a concentration camp. They had very limited resources in Gaza in 1950, and there wasn't too many job opportunities. And my grandparents, they got a word somehow that conditions in Jordan were slightly better than Gaza, so they decided to walk again from Gaza to Jordan in order to live in Jordan. But there was a problem. When they came to Gaza, it was all Palestine, so it was fine, they could walk. But in 1950, in order to walk from Gaza, and all of this is walking, no cars, no buses, nothing. In order to go from Gaza to Jordan, in 1950, you had to cross via a new state, a very unfriendly state, the state of Israel. Now for Israel, when they expelled all these Palestinians, they didn't want them to go back to their homes, so they adopted a free fire policy. Free fire policy is, if you see an Arab, if you see a Palestinian, shoot to kill them. They're not allowed to be in this place. They are not allowed to go back to their home. In the span of a few years, around that time, almost 5,000 Palestinians were killed just because they were trying to go back to their home, nothing else. They became known as infiltrators. Like, imagine, one day this is your home, this is your country, next day you're an infiltrator in your own home. But anyway, so my grandparents, they decided to take the risk because it was already rough in Gaza. So in the middle of night, they stuck out of Gaza in a group of 50 people. So they had like a convoy or caravan of 50 people. They left Gaza at night, and they didn't want to be detected by an Israeli patrol or the army, because if they were detected, they would have been killed exactly like the other 5,000 people who met their fate that way. So they left at night, and they kept walking during the night until the light of the day came in. They hid in a cave, waited until it's dark again, then carried on walking and so on. So just walking during the night and hiding during the day. Now, the new baby, who became my dad, he was crying just like any other baby. And everyone was scared that they didn't want the cries of the baby to be heard by a patrol or by troops or by someone watching. So my grandfather, terrified, he was forced to take the hardest decision any parent can do, to sacrifice his own baby to save his own people. No parent should be ever put in that situation, in that place. But he didn't want to lose these 50 people, to compromise their safety, so he decided he was strong enough to sacrifice his own. So he just put the baby on the ground, on the side of the path, and just walked away. Luckily, there were a few men just walking by the end of the caravan of the convoy, and they saw this baby on the ground. So they picked him up and they went ahead to the caravan, and they found his mom, and he was retrieved. So my dad survived, and he was returned to his mom. They survived that walk. They arrived in Jordan. They had a slightly happier life, and they died in Jordan, and they never saw their home again. So that day in July, they left their home, and that was the last time ever that they saw their home. So what happened to their home? So Israel moved in new settlers to this empty town of Al-Lid. All these houses, all these shops, just empty, like a ghost city. New settlers moved in. A random family were assigned our own home of Al-Lid. It became their own home all of a sudden. They sat on our own chairs. They ate our own food from the pantry, olives, cheeses, pickles, you name it, on our own table. They tended to our own trees, in our own backyard, in our own orchards. They took over our shops, the market, everything. It was as if we died and they became us. They lived our life, and we started our own journey of displacement and dispossession as refugees. Now, all of this misery and suffering started by the expulsion order. Do you remember that expulsion order, which I read? The inhabitants of Al-Lid must be expelled quickly without attention to age. This is what it said. What I didn't tell you earlier, it was signed by a commander back then. His name is Yitzhak Rabin. Now, there's an irony here in the fact that I'm standing right here telling you this very story about the expulsion of my own family and my own people of Al-Lid. 20 meters that way, maybe slightly more, there's a rock on the ground, a memorial apparently. That memorial for Yitzhak Rabin, the same war criminal that ethnically cleansed Al-Lid, my own grandparents. He had a bloody memorial over there.
City Council should remove it.
Yeah, I will leave it to the city councillors to reconsider why do we have a memorial for a war criminal in their own city? But until then, I want you, every time you see that memorial, if you walk by, to remember my own story and to be inspired to continue the fight for justice for Palestinians. So make it something positive and keep remembering this story, keep remembering these words, keep remembering this day and the power of people. Now, my story is relevant to what is happening today in Gaza because we are seeing it exactly happening at a way scale, different scale. Gaza is being bombarded and being starved to death. And we heard about these evacuation orders. Well, my grandparents were evacuated. They never saw their home again. And we know this is what Israel is trying to do because that is what Israel does. So we don't want it to happen again. The bombing of Gaza needs to stop right now. Our government, New Zealand government, on our own behalf, gave Israel a free pass at defending itself by wiping out Gaza. This needs to stop. And the way we stop it is what we're doing right now. Kia ora.